Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka The Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about celebrities and their self concepts. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching. So, I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching along with premium coaching right now, which is basically unlimited calls and unlimited DMs. So, the links for that will be in the description down below, where you'll have access to an FAQ page where you can find out all the answers you need, and thereafter, you guys can reach out to me via Instagram or email for pricing information and to figure out what plans may be suitable for you. I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources from time to time, as well as you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. And I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching. And last but not least, I have my Manifest Your SP course as well, which is designed, to be really take you from the basics of what manifesting is, and essentially bring you through the pacing, and active participation is required from the user, and you're going to manifest your SP, but along with that, right, like you are also going to be improving your self concept, and like thinking about like things like gratitude, and things that are essentially going to help you in other areas of your life as well. So it's going to equip you with knowledge that's going to help you, and make other areas of your life flourish as well. And I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying, like, these are feedbacks from clients who have been taking the course as well. So definitely it's worth your investment. What's neat about this course is that, like, if you are getting it right now, you will get future content updates for free, and I'm regularly updating it, and when I do so, I will be bumping up the prices. So if you get it now, you're getting it at a much lower rate than you will in the future as well. I just bumped up the prices recently as well, guys. So if you are in the market for definitely a course that's going to add value, and that's not just like a 1 hour video and a bunch of PowerPoint slides, look no further. This course is like highly detailed. It will take like hours and hours for you to go through like each and every one of those modules itself. It's like super detailed, and it's definitely worth your time. And the main mode of coaching is through PDF documents, which are like sometimes like module to module it varies. It's like 10 to 12 pages or even 22 pages if need be. And of course, like with end of every module, you have worksheets or quizzes, and also of course videos where necessary as well, to kind of further explain it, right? So it's a mix of mediums, to kind of deliver the messages and to kind of get the point across. So if you guys have any questions on that, be sure to email me or DM me on Instagram as well, guys. So without further ado, let's get to this topic. This is a very chill topic, and I'm glad this person asked me to talk about this. This was again a topic from our content suggestions form, so the link for that is in the description as well. So if you guys need any suggestions, if you guys would like me to talk about any content, sorry, I can't talk. Let me know in the Google Forms in the description as well, so I will be able to address it in a video or a post or things like that. So yeah, so this was something that they wanted me to talk about, specifically a few celebrities, which I thought was very interesting. I guess it was the trending ones these days. When this person posted, it was kind of like a few weeks back, so it was kind of still relevant then. So yeah, recently, as you guys would have known, Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian broke up, right? So this was a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure when I'll post this video, but it's already a couple of weeks for me right now. And the other one is Jennifer Lopez got married to Ben Affleck, I believe, right? So I want to talk about Pete Davidson first, right? Because I was really like posting about Kanye West, and how he quote unquote successfully manifested the 3P out of the situation, and he's in the clear right now type of thing, right? Because I feel like in that relationship, I don't know the details of all these things, like I'm not too invested into like celebrity gossip and everything, but one thing that I noticed was like like Kanye didn't hold back, right? Like when it came to the whole social media thing, I remember like Daniel Mack, the guy who asks people for like, hey, I love your car, what do you do for a living type of thing, right? Like you would have seen those videos. Like I remember he stopped a car of Kanye's like social media manager or something like that, and she was like, things are really like going off in the background. I think she said something along those lines, and you could tell that the situation was really intense, right? And like, people were posting, he was posting. I believe like Pete Davidson didn't hold back either, and Kim had her own things as well and things like that. So, it was chaotic. But and I want to talk about it from like Pete Davidson's perspective as well, and I will. But from Kanye's, like I always was like saying on my stories, like he manifested a 3P out of the situation. Good for him. And I think he really wanted to kind of get back together with her, and he really kind of cherished that family unit. So I just felt like that was something that he really wanted, and this was like a step in the right direction as far as like looking at it from Kanye's perspective, right? So just give me a minute, guys. Like, let me sip a bit of water. I think I'll put a timestamp on it so that if this ever happens in the future, people can skip it or something. But I really want to keep this video like authentic, and I can't really pause this video anyways. I'm not going to edit this out, but yeah, anyways. So that was like Kanye's side of the story, right? And I feel like, if you are ever in a third party situation, always you could remember Kanye, right? Like, regardless of how quote unquote strong a relationship seems, you can always remember that circumstances do not matter. Literally, circumstances do not matter. If and think about this situation, right? Like, I think it came off as a pretty shock, like for a lot of people. I was taken aback by when I saw the whole Pete Davidson Kim Kardashian thing. It was not a gradual kind of like, oh, the couple is facing a lot of issues right now and then they broke off type of thing. It was like, oh, they suddenly broke off. Like, there was like nothing leading up to it. I mean, maybe if like insiders would have known a lot more about this, of course, but it was certainly a surprise for me. And I guess the main reason was, I think Pete Davidson had like tattooed the initials of like Kim's kids, basically the kids she had with like Kanye, right? Like, so it was like kind of like seemed like he was really kind of bonding with everyone in the family. And I think he was also like spending like last year Christmas or something, or the New Year's, I can't remember, but he was like really into it, right? And I think the upcoming season is where like Pete Davidson will be featured in the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, if that's still running. I'm not like super well versed in the celebrity world. I'm just talking about what I know and from a manifesting perspective, of course. But yeah, so my point is like things were really seem to be doing well from an outsider's perspective. So I was really kind of taken aback when I saw the whole um, you know Kim and Pete kind of broke off the entire thing. And again, from Kanye's perspective, I really thought it was a win, right? Because he kind of removed the third party. And if you're ever looking at it, like, just kind of remember the story to kind of give you that moral boost, right? So let's talk about Pete Davidson. Now, this guy, right? Like, I remember, I think a few celebrity were talking about it, and like celebrity outlets were talking about it. Not celebrity, sorry. And a lot of manifestation coaches were talking about it, right? Like, a lot of people were like saying, "Oh, no disrespect to him, but like if he can manifest Kim Kardashian, anyone can," or things like that. And like kind of like taking a jab at his whole looks. I think he looks fine, if I'm really being honest. And I remember, I think it was Megan Fox. I think when Pete asked Megan Fox or something for Kim's number or something, she was like, you can forget about it. She's like way out of your league or something like that. But clearly, Pete has a track record of dating really attractive women, right? And I think when it comes to Pete, like one thing is like self-concept, like that kind of shows. Like if you have a strong self-concept, you can date anyone, right? Like you don't have to really like be super duper good looking, like 6 foot tall, jacked, and I'm talking about it from a guy's perspective, because I think for a guy, like those are like the limiting beliefs, right? Like, oh, you have to be a certain height, you have to have a certain physique. Not that that doesn't help you. I mean, it certainly doesn't ruin your chances by any means. But even if you don't have those, like, trust me when I say this, it's like you can still, like manifest, your SP, right? If you feel like they are super good looking, and if you feel like quote unquote like they are way out of your league, as some may put it, no, fret not, right? Like you can always, manifest them. Again, like circumstances do not matter. If you want it, you have it, right? So remember that, right? And also I think another thing to really remember is, things can change at any point, right? Things are very fluid, right? So like what, again, like coming at it like from the Kanye's like viewpoint, right? Like, maybe he would have seen, like, I think in the beginning he was like reacting a lot, right, to the 3D and like all the social media. I think as time went by, it kind of died down, and I think just when it kind of died down was like when like the whole breakup between like Pete and Kim happened. Again, I didn't really follow that story too much, but like that's how it seemed like as well. I remember like there was this like the Robolox situation happened, and so I think Kim like kind of reached out to Kanye as well at one point, right? Like I think if you guys follow the story, you guys will know what I mean. I don't want to get into too much details because it's like I want to keep it kind of PG. But so that happened, and I think like things were kind of like leaning towards that direction in a way, I guess you could say. But it kind of really shows, right? Like nothing is really like set in stone, right? Like and I really want to like give it like a positive outlook, in the sense that like like things can always change, so you guys don't give up. Because I often see in the community, they are like, oh, my SP said XYZ, and and they're like, okay, this is probably the end, I give up, or I feel really sad right now and I really don't see hope in this, and things like that. But I guess we often see stories of like like even potential third parties coming in, and you know what, like it doesn't matter, like they always go away, and it's just feedback. Like just take it as feedback. You keep persisting in your news story regardless of what you see or you don't see, and you know what, everything will just align for you, right? I think like even for Pete and Kim, like they seem pretty close as far as like outsiders could tell, right? Like with the whole tattoos and whatnot. But like before you knew it, I think it was like just maybe weeks later, he had the tattoo um, in his neck or something, and then like they kind of broke off the whole thing. So it kind of really shows, right? Like um, how things can really change quickly. I also want to talk about it from a celebrity's perspective, who is a really good looking individual, right? And who really seems like who has a good self concept with regards to her career and stuff like that. When it comes to her personal life, like she may not have a good self concept, and that is Jennifer Lopez, right? Like, and I have nothing against this person. Like, I don't even know this person, so this is just like an outsider's perspective. So take it with a grain of salt, a huge one at that. But this is one interesting story, right? So Jennifer Lopez marrying Ben Affleck, right? Like, I don't think like people would have seen this coming. Like, I mean, like leading up to this, or even them getting back together. Like for example, I didn't like think many would have seen this coming. I mean, there would have definitely been fans kind of rooting for this, definitely. So for context, I believe they dated in the early 2000s, and they kind of ended it down the line. And I think when I like really like started following Jennifer Lopez was through her now current ex-boyfriend, right? Like Alex. I think his name is like he's known, short form is like A-Rod, right? So he's kind of into real estate, like the whole entrepreneur thing. That's how I kind of got into this whole thing, if I'm really being honest. That's the lens that I have seen this through. So A-Rod is of course a former baseball player turned entrepreneur, and him and J-Lo were going really good, right? Like I really thought like this is the thing, like don't let social media fool you, because again this relationship seemed really strong for a while, right? Like they really like like all the children from both sides, they were all bonding together, so like one big family. It really seemed like they had a really strong bond there, and they really seemed like a nice big family, right? And so it seemed like, wow, they are really going well. And I believe that even now they still have like a lot of like business investments, right? Like they have like shared business investments. that they kind of are still like kind of working on together at a professional level now, of course. But needless to say, they kind of started it as a couple, meaning like they kind of saw a future with each other, that in reason enough to do business deals and like investments together as a couple at one point, right? So again, that was a shock, right? So this is a story that I kind of dug into just a little bit, right? Like not too deep into it, but just to kind of get the gist of the story. So why did like A-Rod and J-Lo kind of separated, right? And turns out it was the whole infidelity thing with A-Rod, which is not confirmed as far as I know, but there was an insider apparently who said something very interesting, and this caught my eye more than anything, right? Even if he didn't cheat or whatsoever, it was more like she can't stand the idea, right? She means like J-Lo, right? Like J-Lo can't stand the idea of like having that in her mind, and because of that she couldn't stay with him. And this was interesting for me because we are not talking about some average person on the street, not that like they are any less by any means, but it was like, I would imagine like as a celebrity, right, you would have the confidence of a celebrity, of like you would imbue like goddess energy, I would say, right? Like that's how I would think of that person. Like if you were to like tell me, okay, like J-Lo would have like fears of like someone taking over her spot, or like her partner cheating on her in any way, I'd be like, really? Like come on, like she's J-Lo, like like is there anyone else could be better than her, type of thing. And no, and like for us, like looking at them, like we may feel that they are people with like great self concepts who are super duper confident, but sometimes they are not, right? Like it kind of reminds people like people are, celebrities are just people as well. And this is just one of those instances that kind of just like reinforce that in my mind, right? So you could be super attractive, you could have great self concept, you can have a huge following, and you can still have a shitty self concept sometimes with regards to relationships, right? Because all the fame and fortune and business wise, like for those areas of self concept could be great, but that does not equate to having a great sense of self concept with regards to relationship and love life. And J-Lo was like, to me, was like one of the prime examples of that. Again, no disrespect to her, but again, this was one of those things, right? And then what happened, right? She got back with her former lover, right? Like Ben Affleck, right? I think they are a great couple. Like I have nothing against these guys. Again, I'm just an outsider kind of commentating on this whole thing and coming at it from a manifesting perspective, right? But I feel like this was a very interesting thing where like going back to someone who you had a relationship with, right? And there could have been any number of reasons for that, but we'll see how this goes. And obviously you want them to have a happy loving life and whatnot, but it was really interesting, right? And I think what really kind of surprised me was how quickly they married, right? I think they reconciled and got married pretty quickly. And I think funny enough, right? Like with regards to manifesting, A-Rod, I think in the early 2000s videos or something, he mentioned he liked to date Jennifer Lopez at one point, and so that happened. He manifested that, so good for him. And in another video, Jennifer Lopez, I think this was like popping up recently as well, and I guess many of you would have seen that video as well. It was like she was telling some interviewer or someone about how her surname would change to Affleck. This was when she was dating Ben Affleck, obviously back in the early 2000s. So she was like, oh, Jennifer Affleck or something like that, but her stage name will still be J-Lo. And she was just like kind of thinking about it, like, and they were like just kind of having a fun conversation. So I guess like that happened as well, now that she's like Jennifer Affleck, right? So I just found it interesting. And yeah, and even like regular people, right? Like people who aren't like like high celebrity status or something like that, I've seen in my interactions with the community, right? I kid you not, like there are people who would, like sometimes have discussions with me, either through like Facebook posts, or even through like Insta DMs at one point. And these were like super attractive people, very good looking people, right? Both men and women, right? But more women because my demographics is as such. But I have seen like super attractive, super good looking, super kind, I should say, as well, because these people, some of them are really, really kind, and they have such a great personality, super kind souls. Some of them are really thriving at their career and so on, right? And then they will be like, well, my SP isn't talking to me, my SP isn't like committing to me, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, really? Like, you like, and I know, like, from a coach's perspective, like, I look at it from an objective lens, and I assess the situation, I look at their thought processes, and kind of guide them accordingly. But sometimes I kid you not, it throws me off, and I'm like, whoa, like, that's when I would realize like self concept is like really, really, really important when it comes to love life, right? And I'm not trying to be superficial here just by judging someone based on their looks or something, right? My point was, it really baffles me, one, like, and these people know that they are good looking as well, right? Like, they know, but still that doesn't detract away from the fact that they have self concept issues. And that kind of like threw me off, because for the longest time in my life, ever since I was a kid, I always thought that if you're good looking, you probably have a very good self concept, right? I didn't think of it as self concept, but I was like, okay, if you're good looking, you probably have a lot of confidence and everything always goes well for you. Because, like, psychologically, they always say, right, like, good looking people have a better way of getting their, better chances of getting their way in everything, or and just having more biased judgment towards them or something like that, right? Like, I think there's a whole psychological thing that was like said in school to me at one point. So I always thought, like, good looking people would probably have like very good self confidence, and high level of self confidence, and they'll just be able to carry themselves, and through a relationship, and they will always be able to kind of get their way, and generally speaking, they will kind of thrive in a relationship, right? That was the impression that I had for like a longest time. But as soon as I entered the manifestation community of things, which was when I really kind of got started exploring the real world, I would say, uh, was when I realized, like, oh no, like, really good looking people can have very bad self concept as well, and like average looking people, right, can have like really good self concept. And you can really see when the way they carry themselves, like, even Neville spoke about this lady who was like really kind of average looking, but she like married like a rich guy, and how she manifested like loads of money, and she was like, men were swooning over her or something like that. And like, so this was even like prevalent in like Neville's time as well. That's my point, right? So I have seen like people with like large followings, right? And whatnot. And these are like, some of them are like models. I kid you not. Like, and it would baffle me. I would sit there and think, like, this person, like, and the way they speak and the way they carry themselves is like so kind, and they're really nice people, so down to earth sometimes. And I'm like, why do you have self concept issues when it comes to SP? Shouldn't be them having self concept issues over you? And you trust me, guys, like, it really threw me off. Like, it really, really threw me off. And I guess you guys can sense it from my tone as well, even now. And that's why when and like cases like J Lo kind of reinforced that, right? And the opposite of that was kind of reinforced with Pete Davidson, right? Even if you're like somewhat of an average looking individual, I don't think like he's hideous or whatsoever, right? Like, I think he's decent, definitely, and he can carry himself as well. But like, if Pete Davidson can date like all those women, right? um, you know you can as well, right? Like, and not to put him down or anything like that, but like, like, just looking at it like from like that perspective, it kind of shows you how like self concept can make a difference. He probably has a great self-concept. Like Pete probably has a very good self-concept, right? Now, we don't know what limiting beliefs he has in order to kind of, because he couldn't sustain a relationship for like a while with any of them. Like, nothing really lasted, right? Like he didn't marry any of those women and stuff like that. So, like we can definitely talk about it in another video. But like my point was like, to just hold himself in that space, right? To even get himself in that kind of position in the first place, it would have taken a certain level of like self concept and confidence to even get to that level. And that is something to think about. And if you ever feel like, oh, my looks aren't that good, or I'm not tall enough, I'm not muscular enough to date XYZ women, because only women like those types of like frat boys type of thing, right? No, right? That's a limiting belief. If you're a guy out there watching this, remember that, right? And with like J Lo, right? Like things again, you can be good looking and you can have self concept issues, right? So like don't let that be the case though. Embrace who you are, and like think about what you bring to the table. Make this all about you, and really like think about it like, I am the goddess of my reality, or I'm the god of my reality. Everyone loves me, everyone cares for me, everyone always does things that are favorable for me and only me, and things like that, right? Like always come at it from the perspective that everything's about you. And be confident, step into your own light and like shine, right? Like don't like let anyone else like kind of throw you off your pedestal. And really like come at it from the perspective that regardless of what happens, like they will come back, right? I was telling this to a client recently as well. I was like, think about it like this: like you have a leash on your SP, but it's a very like stretchy leash, right? So they are going to come back, right? They may go far, but they are going to be back, like, because you always have that. And so when you pull back, they are going to come back. So you just hold your ground, you just do your inner work and everything. They're going to be back in no time, right? Like OSP, like I say, is always like a boomerang. They may go far, but they always come back to you. So always remember that. So my point is this, right? Like you can be very successful like Jennifer Lopez career wise and whatnot, but it kind of shows you, right? It kind of is like an aha moment for a lot of people, right? Like how sometimes if you don't work on your self concept, or if you don't have a strong you know um, perception of love and whatnot, it can still affect you. And these stories kind of show you that such things are not to be taken for granted. Like by such things I mean like things like self concept and success in career and things like that. As sort of like just because you have those doesn't mean you will be successful in your relationship, right? So if you are successful in your relationship, take some time to be grateful to yourself, because you have been doing really really good. Because not a lot of people can like nail that sometimes, right? Like and we see that in the celebrity world often. So again, if you're looking at it from the Kanye's perspective, remember, circumstances do not matter. You can always manifest whatever you want, right? I think like he slept well that day, right? Like it's safe to say that. So yeah, guys, I just kind of broke it down into like 3 different perspectives. And I think as far as like, I think the only perspective I didn't cover that much was like Alex perspective. I looked into it, like he didn't really have much things to say. Like he was going on with his life, right? Like he was just continuing his business ventures, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. And he was like spending time with his girls and whatnot, and I think he's doing pretty well. Again, we don't know what exactly happened and why the couple separated, but for all things considered, I think he's handling it pretty well. If you guys know anything about that, or if you guys want me to make a video on any other celebrity, let me know. I think this was a great video. I really really enjoyed making this. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this. Turn on the bell notification so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. Be sure to subscribe for more awesome content like this, guys. And thank you so much for watching, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and join our mailing list as mentioned as well. And guys, so thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.